is a very, very different vibe. Episode 24 of Rug Radio. NFTs Beyond the Floor. Welcome, GM, everybody. This is a very, very different show today. And so I am looking forward to chatting with my speakers, and we don't have a project joining us up today because we wanted to gather feedback and have a good conversation, a good chat, and also take a moment as well to perhaps not wait for people to put their hands up, and do that whole polite thing where they wait to be asked to be spoken to and all the rest of it. So guys, Tom, Spaceman, Zerk, Bex, Clemente, take yourselves off mute. Let's have a chat.
Hello.
Let's do it, mate. I reckon this is such a good play. I spend a lot of time in spaces just jumping around the place and seeing what other people are up to in terms of content. And I feel like just an open conversation where the mute button is the worst feature, right? Because everyone's scared to come off of mute to interrupt anyone. So
yeah.
It's super frustrating, but
all very British as well, right? I was doing that on purpose. Doing that on purpose there, just talking all over both of you. There you go.
Yeah, there you
go. We're so polite.
I think the big thing is that when the way that we've been running the show is obviously invite on a project, give them an hour to try and articulate what it is they're trying to do and give everyone an update, and also allow 3, 4, 5 speakers the opportunity to ask a question. And I suppose it's difficult to do that if it is really open format, which is why lots of people's spaces go on for 2, 3, 4 hours. And it's kind of what I really want to, we're dealing with TikTok generation here as well. And so I don't want to be patronizing to anyone, but at the same time, who the fuck goes back after 2-3 hours and listens to a 3-hour spaces? Because I don't.
Especially when there's so many going on every day. It's which one is worth my time, But
so I don't know if you saw a moment ago, Farouk just announced in the Rug Radio Discord that he at 7 o'clock UK time, so 2 p.m. where he is, they're bringing Nike on to talk about their introduction to Web3.
Let's go.
Which is insane, but they these are the things I want to be talking about now. What's the reasonable length of time to make that show so that actually a bigger audience then take the time to listen back to it?
Yeah.
And I want to put that out there. Do you think that the current way... So, okay, let me frame it differently. I'll monologue for a minute and then I'll shut up and you can all jump up and give me your view. But spaces are underproduced. Okay, so there's no, it's not like a radio show, right? There's no jingle at the top, jingle at the bottom, or at least people aren't doing that very well at the moment. They're not, nobody's taking the opportunity or spoiling perhaps their spaces by allowing kind of advertising to come across the top of it. So essentially what it is a group of people jumping into a space, turning on their mic and talking about a given subject material. But I don't know, I'm really, really eager to understand how people digest it. Is it something that they will only digest in the moment? Do people go back and listen to their spaces, or do they bookmark spaces so that they can fill up their day with it on in the background? Or would they rather be listening to something live? And with this spaces, this series that we've done, we're on episode 24 now. We've got 23 episodes of a podcast because I've edited down. I've cut out the 2 minutes at the beginning where we wait for people to join. And if someone went wrong or there was a bit of something silly going on, I'll go in and I'll edit it out and I'll top and tail it with some music, and then I'll upload it as a podcast. But even those podcasts are about an hour long. How long really? If you look at the most popular podcasts in the world, with the exception of Joe Rogan, who is really the exception to the rule, how long are those episodes? And so I'm really curious. I would like lots of people to come up today and give me their view. You don't have to raise hands, just request to speak, and bring yourself off mute, and I'm sure we'll all find our way. But I would really like to understand, how do you digest Spaces? How do you what do you want to see in terms of production value? What do you think about the show, that the series that we've just been rolling out, and we've got a few episodes left of this series before we then close it, have a little bit of a rebound and a restructure, and then come back bigger and better in December. But yeah, I'm really curious to know what people think and how they do it. And I'll let the speakers go first. So like Tom, you're off mute. Spaceman, Zerk, Bex.
Just before we jump in though, Ben, like I think I speak for everyone here when I say you smashed it. Like, you've actually killed it with the structure of these Spaces. I know my girlfriend like listens to him sometimes, and she's like, "Fuck, like it's really good." You know, he's got all the questions, he's lined it up, and if it was me running this space, there would be no structure. It would be a complete mess, a complete shambles. So that's something that I'm impressed with. So
well,
yeah, keep
I
going
really
there.
appreciate that, and it wasn't my intention to begin with to be super organized. Do you know why it happened? It happened because the first episode we did was with Mila from Robotos, and she's Mexican, and so English isn't her first language, and so she said to me, "I'm really happy to do it, but I'm really nervous because I don't know. I like, as if you're going to ask me a question, I've got to process the question in English, turn it into Mexican, answer it in my head in Mexican, and then turn it back into English and tell you. I'm just not going to have time to do it." And so I said, "Okay, well, I'll write you some questions then." And that then formed like the basis of the show. Genuinely, that conversation.
Oh, mate, we thought you were literally the most organised man alive. We were like, this guy is absolutely all over it. Now, look, I'll chuck my 2 pence in. Like anything in life, it's balance, right?
Yeah.
I think challenging, we got maybe a little bit too formulaic, and it got a little bit boring on some of the episodes where
I agree.
It was a bit too samey.
Yeah.
But without structure, it'll be a mess, and it won't be interesting, and it won't be consistent, and people won't get it, and we won't be delivering what people are looking for. So for me, it's like half and half. Like, I think speed things up, make things more off the hoof, be a bit more challenging, get us teed up to ask maybe a few more challenging questions, a few more topical and interesting ones, but give it a bit more pace. But
yeah,
it still has to have some structure, Ben. Otherwise, it'll just be car.
Well, it was really interesting though, right? Because last week's with Deadfellas went completely off.
Oh yeah.
And yet it was one of the most engaging ones I think we'd done, and that was because people who came up, they were kind of like, they were driven by the subject material. And I mean, last week was quite an evocative week anyway in Spaces. Bex, I see you came off mute and on mute and off mute and on mute. Like,
I'm just being really polite.
Just jump in, Bex.
Well, I know we've only got
Morse
20
code?
more minutes.
Morse code. She's sending us a message.
Yeah, that secret speaker's Morse code for you guys. No, I'm actually in agreement there. I think balance is key, and actually for someone who ran a Spaces for 9 months every Monday myself, and actually realised that when the structure of that kind of went out the window and it turned into a bit more of a shill zone for projects, I stopped it because there's no point when it kind of loses its initial impact, and I could tell that with the dwindling numbers, but that's also to do with the landscape as well at the time. But what I would say is I really enjoyed the Betty conversation, but it depends on the speaker as well. So that's the prep work, which I suppose is a bit more on you, Ben, is just like, like with Mila, like you knew that she was going to struggle with the language barrier. So therefore it had to be a little bit more structured. I think, but Betty, we all know that she will talk so eloquently and articulately for Britain, and you can leave her to it. And I actually really liked the fact that you had quite evocative topics in there, because what that does is that brings in a bigger audience as well, and that's the hook for people. So I don't know if the hook in terms of titles is necessarily just the speaker, or if it's actually something that we as a collective can find as something that can really spur people who might not know what these projects are.
So it's more topical.
Yeah, I think so. Not necessarily always controversial, but it's got to be something like, you know, is someone going to come on and talk about FTX or something like that, or you know, that's not right for this. But do you see what I mean? It's just
I do, yeah. And well, it was really interesting you say that, because obviously Zerk reached out to. We have a little group internally, like a Twitter group, where we talk about what we're doing and we plan the spaces, you know, ahead. And so just like Zerk this morning came forward and said, like, I've got a really good contact, and I think it would make a cool show. They're really heavily involved in metaverse development. What do you think? Like, it's not necessarily a project in the same way, but they're doing cool stuff in the metaverse. And is that a good conversation? And I was really eager, like, yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea for a show. And so I wonder if, you know, we've covered 23, and we've still got, so, you know, on Thursday this week, Vinny Hager is going to come up and speak. On Monday next week, we've got Creeps, Cold-Blooded Creeps, and Overlord, which I think will be a really exciting episode. And then I'm also chatting and trying to find a moment in Farouk's very, very busy schedule so that he could actually come up with Rug Radio. So we don't talk to Farouk as Farouk the influencer. We talk to him as the founder of Rug Radio, and I think that would make for a really cool episode. So I'm trying to get that over the line, and then that's kind of like where we are with that. Ryan Carson has said he'd like to come back on. I don't see that really being a project discussion. It's more of a like a topical, like, what does it mean to build a fund and to be a part of, you know, to have the background that he's got. So I do think that maybe one of the things we could look to do with the show is perhaps just be a little less prescriptive and a little less stuck in terms of the theme, and allow some of the things that are going on in the space to drive the conversation. That said, it still remains for me really, really important that we don't just, you know, find ourselves talking about floor price and crypto meta based on the fact that doesn't always, you know, I want to talk about what people are building and what people are doing and what people are achieving in the space. That's really, really important to me. I'm going to shut up again.
But then the hook on that, like when you send your crib sheets to us, then within your questioning and the research that you've done there is a hook that's going to bring people in outside of those communities on all of those crib sheets. Yeah. So it can still be about the project, but there were projects that we all took part in on episodes, and actually I'd never heard of that project before, and I was thinking to myself, would I have joined that Spaces if I wasn't part of that community or aware of that community?
Sure.
If that's what the title suggests, actually there's probably something in what's going to be talked about within that community that they're doing differently, and which is why you've approached them, that would be more interesting for an audience to kind of go, oh, I want to learn about that. And that's what we need to put in the title.
It's a really good point. Tom, you were going to say something, buddy.
No, I think, I completely agree with what everyone said. I think it's really important, though, to remind ourselves that we've just had possibly one of the most, if not the most unbelievable weeks of mayhem in crypto that we've ever had. And like, to be, you know, if we think back a few weeks, there have been weeks where there hasn't been huge amounts going on. So we talk about keeping things topical. There are times where that won't necessarily be the case, but when I think about entertainment, typically I think about topical. I think topical and entertainment go hand in hand. So I think it is just that, like Mark and Beck said, it is the balance. I think one recommendation that I would have is, you know, just to actually to like loosen the structure so that perhaps we're not thinking about questions, but we're thinking about segments. So how to split the show up into segments that are looking at different perspectives, different points of view, and probably structuring it a bit more loosely, but still keeping that essence of structure, I think is really important.
Yeah, it's really, really good point. Hey, Boo. So Boo is another Rug. In fact, we've got two Rug Radio hosts up. So we've got Boo and Nikita. Boo had his hand up first, Nikita. So you'll have to wait for a second. But Boo, go for it. What's your view?
Hey, Ben, thanks for having me up. You know what? I kind of came up to ask a question because I'm kind of, you know, I'm traveling. I'm in Japan right now. Cool. And I'm having like time zone scheduling conflicts. My show usually goes on at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. And now I'm in Japan. So are we allowed to take breaks as hosts?
No.
Well, I don't ask.
Red flag. It's a red flag.
Usually, what will I do? I'll tell everyone in the previous episode that that's my intention. So, like, if I know I'm not going to be on next week, then I'll give everyone a heads up that the show's not going to happen at the normal time next week. But, you know, you have to, your show has to fit around you, man. Otherwise, it's going to be a real pain. And so, yeah, just let your audience know. Send a tweet, let everyone know. And I'm sure you'll be fine. But it's a fair point. It's a fair point. And you know, we are as a community of hosts that represent Rug Radio. You know, we're learning this as we go, and the guys at Rug Radio are learning it as we go. You know, we've all been onboarded by Patrick, and you know, Patrick has given us the tools to go ahead and do it, but there hasn't been like a hard and fast. These are the rules in terms of when you must and mustn't do it. So, you know, really, really interesting point. And I think consistency, right? Consistency is a real big thing. So I wouldn't be changing it weekly, but I've taken a few off for sure.
Yo, I really appreciate that. And the reason why I want to ask is so, like, I really like to get my show about what I'm into. Like, I don't want to just necessarily have like an NFT project up there all the time. I like to focus on art, oddities, things that I'm into. So I really appreciate this. And honestly, this is a great open forum to have and just keep talking about it. And yeah, you're right. Patrick, I think, would definitely listen back to this. And he's told me, don't come at this like Web 2, come at this like Web 3.
Yeah.
Just think about it a little differently. And like, yeah, I think this week and next week, I'm kind of struggling just because of, like, you know, I'm like 12-hour time difference. I'm going from Japan to you know, the United States. So I really appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for the feedback.
No worries. Nikita, and then I'll come to you, Nama. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing amazing, my friend. I'm really happy to be here. I already told you that I need to run in a couple of minutes, but I promised you to drop by and give some feedback. Adding to Boo's point, I do believe, taking into account, for example, Rug Radio show itself, we have, 24, 25 shows right now. No need to be just like everyone else to discuss NFTs, to discuss like metaverse or whatever. Be unique.
I think we might have lost you, Nikita, but I think, being unique. Oh, Nikita.
A true Rug Radio host.
He's powering on regardless.
I'm going to drop him as a speaker, and then he can request to come back.
He's always on the run as well. I met him as part of NFT London. He came on the Friday to this amazing lunch that Fair XYZ hosted.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, it's like the 6th course or something, and he was like, gotta run. And I literally saw him like running down the
I followed him around on Thursday evening. Yeah, he was wild. So he's a great host, lots of energy. And Nikita, when you've got signal back, either come up or join us for a show maybe in a couple of weeks. Nama, hey, how you doing?
Oh my God, I'm having a great morning here in Los Angeles, and it's good to hear you guys and be here with you. How are you guys doing?
Very well.
I'm so jealous now, like horribly jealous. Sounds absolutely. It's grey in the UK today, like really
miserable.
Grey.
But you know what? When I was in London and people were saying, "Oh my God, you're probably upset. I was the happiest." And I want to tell you something. Last Sunday, I flew home and brought the winter here, so we had, like, thank God, rain for like 3 days. You know.
Nama's a member of the Rug Radio Council, everyone. So best behaviour. I am really interested, Nama, to kind of understand a bit more about how you like digest spaces, and also you probably came up with something to say as well, I imagine.
Yes, so I was listening a little bit, and I must share with you guys, I'm mostly listening to spaces. I'm not in any shape and form hosting anything or have a desire to host. You know, I mean, it just for me, I'm a listener in the space. So I come from this perspective mainly. I don't know who said that at first, but she was relating to shilling and the conversation about that. And I do have a solution for that, I think. I think if each and every one of you will host once a week a shilling session, that everyone will know this is the shilling session. So everybody will join an hour or 45 minutes. It doesn't have to be so long, but in between, you have this opportunity for either community members or non-community members, and that's what it is all about. Then, of course, when you host and you have a sponsor, you have the show is sponsored by, and then of course you have a conversation about the sponsor and what's they're like and what's the energy. So I think this is my opinion. And then you end up all shilling during any show.
Be interesting. Yeah, it's a really good point, Nama. Sorry to cut across you. It'd be really interesting if someone actually came onto Rug Radio as a host and their show was entirely dedicated to shilling. I wonder how many people would listen to it.
But you do have also it's not about how many people are showing up live, because you do have the content forever. So you guys need to think content at all time, not about who is going to be on the show. Now, the conversation also was about the title and the subject, and I think it's very, very important. I think that regardless of who is the speaker is, or who are you interviewing it, or who is the conversation joined with, the subject and the content is important of the subject line. So this is sometimes people will be drawn into regardless of who is the speaker is. So coming up with a twist or coming up with a radical way of saying things, not like the straightforward, I think it's important. And again, it's going to be there forever. Now, also for the point somebody was talking about, sometimes there is a lot of things going on, sometimes it's not. Actually, when it's quiet and peaceful and more information can come, you can actually bring more experts and more people to speak about the past, the current state, the future, the vision. I think that's a really like a vision board, a beautiful vision board for everyone to experience. And lastly, I really want to share with you that I think that each and every one of you can bring the spirit to the space. So the spirit, when I say spirit, is I think that's what the space is actually lacking. And we talking about taking a break. We're talking about this. We're talking about that. But are we really bringing every show, every moment that we have an audience, the fact that we can lead few minutes with meditation, we can open with some intention, we can have more shining more light into I don't know, a quote of the day, and I can help on that, Ben. You and I can really create something that will be a model for a lot of other hosts. But I think that this is our responsibility to bring that, to practice ourselves, but also to share it with our audience. So this will be very unique experience on Rug Radio. When you join the show, you're going to have these moments, either in the beginning, also in between, or at the end, that will wrap up with some thoughts or some spirits from any. And we can have artists, we can do a lot of other things, but it can be also quote from Gordon from Bordepian. It's like it's yoga, yeah. So it can be anything that can bring the space, but also create the vision. And I can really, really help Ben on that. So yeah.
Nama, thank you so much. And yeah, some really, really great points there. I'm going to take a few more hands, but then let's kind of bring it back round to that whole idea of feedback and the idea as well of like how people are ingesting, as I'll call it, like audio content. That's something I'm really, really keen to hear more about. And I want to ask Clemente, one of our other speakers, a question in a moment as well. So I'll go with, I've got Luke, Nikita, and Dude. So Luke, you go first.
Oh, hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Very well, thank you, Luke. How are you doing?
Unfortunately, Luke, yes, we can hear you, my friend.
Oh, you're known.
No. Luke's with us.
Seriously.
Luke's with us.
Liam's just better because he thought he was the biggest guy in the Web3 space. But
Luke is enormous. He's absolutely massive.
Okay. How's it going, Luke? How can I help? How can we help?
Good. I'll be quick because the kids are kicking off. But I just wanted to. I didn't have anything kind of too amazing to add other than your initial questions. How do I consume your podcast? I try and listen to it live. It's always a disaster. And then I listen to the replay. And one of the other speakers there said, just to kind of, I think they were trying to say, just do you. And I would agree because I really like that you talk about NFT projects. And then last week, I know it was great with the Dead Fellas people, but I actually kind of zoned out when the conversation turned to like the current events of what's going on, because I tuned in to learn a bit more about the NFT project. So I guess that is an issue when the conversation takes various twists and turns. How do you manage that? But yeah, I would agree with whoever was on before saying, just do you and don't worry about covering every other topic in the NFT space, because personally, I really enjoy this particular show and format.
That's really interesting. And Luke, thank you so much. When we finished the Dead Fella show last week, Zerk, I'm going to drop you in it because it was, and I know you won't mind me saying, but Zerk he came off the show at the end and he said, and he was right though. He said, "Great show. I can't help but wonder that maybe some people wanted to learn a little bit more about Dead Fellas, though."
Yeah, that's the thing.
Didn't cover the project story.
That's the thing. Like, I think it's fine if it wasn't set up to be spaces talking about Dead Fellas, but then it turned into a space talking about OpenSea, which I personally try to avoid them spaces at all costs because they're fucking boring as. And then it's like, it just turned into that. So I just ended up sitting there like, oh God, I can't even get involved in this conversation. And that's just me being honest. And I think...
No, it's important. It's important. Yeah, and then Luke has backed that view up, which is like, Ben, you've kind of created, with the guys here, you've created a space where we talk about projects. And so it's kind of a bit, I missed not being able to. So
exactly. I'll send you your 50 quid tomorrow, Luke. Cheers, mate.
Go on then, Nikita. Have you got Nikita, have you got your signal now? Sorry, Luke.
I'm back. Yeah, I had
because I know you're going into the cinema shortly, right?
Exactly. I'm already on my way. So just quickly, I had the privilege to actually share the stage with Ben back to back live from NFT NYC, and that's actually NFT London. That's the way how we connected with Ben through Rag Radio live show, and everything that other speakers mentioned today, such as organization, being authentic, that's everything that defines you, Ben. So you're doing it absolutely perfect. As for now, one thing that I would bring, perhaps a bit more education. You just mentioned Dead Fellas last week's space, which I also attended. It brought a lot of people to the web space, to the Web3 space. Right now, let's be honest, the whole crypto space, the whole NFT space is going down. And people are afraid because they're saying that it's a rug pull, all this news are saying that it's scam, and in a certain way it is. With all the news going around with FTX and stuff like that, just bring some more education to the space whenever you can. Perhaps the best way to educate people is by sharing your own personal experience, something that you have gone through. And once again, I haven't seen your first 20 episodes, so I don't know whether you've been doing it before or not. But one thing that I would love to hear a bit more from you is actually how you have gone through this problem, whether you have faced this problem before, how have you solved it, etc. That's something that would help a lot of new people, because you should focus not only on those Web3 and the NFT Degans like all of us are here, but actually new people who are coming for the first time on Twitter Spaces just to learn what this NFT thing is about. So more education. It's not only about your space. I believe it's about all Twitter Spaces and podcasts nowadays. If we want to get this mass adoption, that's the right way to go.
I think that's a really good point, and appreciate you coming back up, Nikita. I think it'd be really cool actually now to speak with David, or the dude. Apologies if I've just semi-doxed you, the dude. But you've obviously...
I don't care.
But you've been up as a as a guest, right? You know, you were your Rumblers, and so you know you shared an episode with us. So tell us a little. I mean, feedback would be much appreciated, but also your view on kind of, you know, you produce content in terms of your project, but also your career. Like, tell us a bit more about your view on this.
Yeah, I think Nama nailed it. And I think you said something earlier when you brought up, and Bex said it kind of similarly too, about a shill space. And you brought it up earlier and having Farouk on later. I think a big issue right now is it feels like for the last 6 months, a lot of the content, we struggle to delineate between why are people tuning in? Are they tuning in to listen to the content, or are they tuning in to listen to the creator? Because there's someone who is interesting in terms of a following. So like deciding, is this space going to be focused on relevant events and topical events weighing in from a person who others find interesting, or this is going to be a thing where people are weighing in to learn about that education? And it feels like a lot of the content gets really cloudy, where you're not sure. In terms of like last week's Deadfellas space, it was an awesome space. But I would wonder whether people tuning in to learn about Deadfellas, to their point a second ago, or were most people tuning in because they care about Betty? And I think that delineating between what the content focus is, I think would be really helpful to an audience. Because as a listener of a lot of spaces and podcasts, a lot of times, to your, like you said earlier about these 3-hour spaces, is you really don't know where the content even is and where the high quality information is.
Yeah, I mean, you should try timestamping one of Farouk's spaces. It's a nightmare. Clemente, that's a good segue into you, dude, because you're obviously working closely with Ryan now, and you've been stepping in and hosting his Daily Dose space, and obviously creating a lot of short kind of format content. So I'm really interested in terms of, I'm quite interested to learn about what is driving your approach to the spaces that you either attend or host, and then the content that you create off the back of that.
Yeah, thank you. The dude brings up a really, really interesting point, which is like being clear on actually what that is. And I think last week's space with Betty was, Ben, I think the first time that you've kind of done that other type of approach where you get the perspective of someone that is the founder of an NFT project, getting their takes on kind of what's going on in the current NFT climate. I think a mix of that would be great. But as I was hosting and getting ready to prep like the Daily Dose show, that's one of the biggest things that I think I was like, why do people tune in? Why do people want to listen to me? And it's, you know, I realize that the show is valuable the less that I talk. Right. And like, you know, you're doing a good job as a host if you're not like, if you're talking less than the rest of the audience, and your job is kind of to dictate like the flow of the conversation, and when a topic is good to keep talking on and when one is good to keep going next. Right. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Daily Dose, like the what makes for great bite-sized content is people's takes on what's going on right now and what's going on within the market. But when it's a take on like something, when they're talking about like a project or something, anything longer than like a minute and a half, you can't even use because you just don't have necessarily the attention span for it. Yeah, I mean, I can't really answer the question, I guess, as far as like what makes this valuable or what would make it valuable for your show. But what I do know is that I think from what I've seen you do, Ben, with this show is like, I think you've gotten a lot better as a host, as prepping for the show, and just like learning how to navigate the conversation forward, which I do want to applaud you for, because I think if you listen to like the first show or first couple of shows compared to now, I think you cover so much more in that hour, and you cover like a broad range of topics really well. So I do want to applaud you for that as well.
Thanks, Clemente. That's very nice of you. Golden, hey, how you doing?
GM, everybody. How's it going, Ben? How's it going, Nama? How are you guys?
Very well, man. It sounds like you might be on the road. Golden is exec producer at Rug Radio. So a lot of the post-production and a lot of the setup, etc., works very, very closely with Farouk, Mando, and OSF and the team there. So so great to have you up, Golden. You sound like you might be on the move. So if you're just listening in, then cool. If you want to speak and you have a point, or you want to, give your opinion on this, please by all means jump in.
Yeah, I am actually running in a car, so if I cut out, just let me know, cut me off.
No worries.
But I did have some input on it because I mean it's a very interesting topic that you guys are talking about, and one that I work really closely and intimately with, and I think there's many different angles to it. Like there's one like coming from just being the host, like I believe Clemente you were talking about, because I've hosted my own spaces too, and it does feel like really good when you're able to let the conversation like do its thing and kind of be the person navigating it and steering it in certain directions. But there's also the other side of it too, because a lot of people do show up to hear the host's voice and hear that energy or that certain terminology they use, whatever it is that they like about the host. But hearing the host is really important too. And when it comes even to the short form, right? Like in our space specifically, like it's very, we kind of cater to a guest speaker, right? Like when we make short form clips, most of it is focused on the Betty that's speaking. We make less of that short form content about the Ben that's hosting. But the other side of that is getting out to the other audience, right? Because we're starting to do like a lot of TikTok and Instagram and YouTube shorts and reaching people that aren't really participating in the Web3 space. And for those people, it's more about like boiling it down to like general things, like making a short clip that's just about crypto, not necessarily about, SBF and this FTX debacle and blah, 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 and getting really specific, but just like, is crypto bad or good? And finding like some type of short form like is specific to that. And that would be, when you're doing that, you might be highlighting the host more. Then asking the question, is this good? And getting him familiar with the audience. Like there's a lot of different angles when it comes to what you're trying to do with your show, who you're trying to reach. And really, I think it comes down to like where you see your show ultimately. Like, like what is the big grand vision you have for your show? Like, is it just staying within the space and growing and getting that type of engagement? Or do you see it like spanning out to people that don't have as much knowledge? Like having that grand vision of where you want to take it, I think is super, super important when it comes to this stuff.
Really useful. Thank you, Golden. Dude, what's up, man?
Yeah, I think he nailed it right there. Is like, I think the focus shouldn't be on driving. I think the numbers in a Twitter space room matter a lot less consequentially than we think. I think maybe in the NFT world, we've gotten so caught up in volume and numbers that ultimately the value is like if Farouk records a 3-hour space, there's going to be awesome content in there and you don't need to sift through the 3 hours. And if you could edit and timestamp, to your joke earlier, and knock that content down into bite-sized bits, whether or not they're 1.5-minute clips or 5-minute clips or 30-minute episode, it's still more digestible and you're still getting it. I would like compare it to, rather than like try to reinvent the content wheel, I think about how many Twitch streamers have their passionate audience, and I would count like Twitch similar to Twitter space, but many of those Twitch streamers still edit their content down and put it out on YouTube and make it a more digestible. So a Twitch streamer can stream for 5 hours and then put out a 10-minute YouTube video with the best content from that longer form.
Yeah, really good. Hey, Nama.
Hey, so GM Golden, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be with you here on Monday morning. So just for one point I want to mention, audience know exactly if we are there for them or for us.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be really, really clear. Because when we put the content out there for the audience, if you're going to keep the audience in mind at all time, they will know it. They will come back. Now, also for the point of the clips, since Golden started putting out the clips, it's so true that these few minutes can give you so much more than just sit and listen. And so many people do not have the time to listen. So I think that if you start doing it, each and every one of you from your own show, it will be very, very well received. So it will be like a drone for a lot of people who just go in and just quickly listen to the content, whatever you want to put out there, and this is it. It's like a clip. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the short form audiograms or like YouTube shorts, TikToks, like I feel like they are the next wave of content to be driven by these Web3 Twitter spaces. Like I feel like there's a massive amount of content that can be extrapolated from all of these hours and hours of conversation that we're listening into at the moment. Clemente, go.
Yeah, and going back to the dude's point, is like we already know that works from a Web2 media point of view, right? Everyone hosts these long platforms, these long podcasts, and then they take them and turn them into 4 or 5 bite-sized content and put it out on TikTok or Instagram. We know that works. Right now, what's crazy to me is the fact that there's so little people that do that in Web3 and do that on Twitter. And I think part of that is because Twitter is not a very video-friendly platform. But I do think that if you're willing to make the bet, Ben, that, and I know you are because we've talked about it, but that video is going to become more friendly on Twitter, right? Based on what Elon said he's wanting to build out from a Vine type point of view. We know that this works. So it's a matter of like, do we want to get on it now and get really good at it now? Or do we want to wait until everyone else is doing it in order for us to start doing it ourselves?
Yeah, I've been thinking about, sorry, I'll come to you in a moment, Golden. I've been thinking about short form content and like if I were running like a project, let's just say as an example, like if I were running a game, we had Big Time on the show. We had Crypto Walkers on the show. I think we've had a couple of other, Cryptoria, they're building out a game. Like we've had a few game-based projects, and I was thinking, like, wouldn't it be amazing if you created your audiograms, but running in the background of the audiogram, like is like real game footage, so to speak. So like when you were getting to the point where you were about to release the game in alpha, beta, etc., like if you were able to give people regular sight of what the game was looking like alongside talking about like how you were going in terms of development, I think that those kind of things would be really interesting. And so I do think there's like, I don't think when we're talking about video, we're necessarily talking about pointing a camera at somebody and making them feel really uncomfortable. I think it's more about like how we animate the content, because audio is going to drive, it's much more digestible. I think there's like a couple of years left of audio being really, really critical in this space. But it's about how you then combine that with something that really captures people's attention when you get to like social short form content. Golden, and then Zerk.
Yeah, so I think you're onto it, Ben, right there with the visuals, like having a lot to add to the audiograms themselves. But I mean, like some of the most effective short form, like from any type of content, like the most successful podcasts, it's still very simple, just a person talking, like when they have video and captions. Like I think the caption is a key to keeping our attention span and kind of engaging our mind a little bit. So I think that part is spot on. But I also want to like highlight some of the other things that are going on, like when it comes to streaming or having a space and holding an audience, because one of our most successful shows on Rug Radio right now is NFT Gem. It has nothing to do with Farouk. He's never spoken on the space. Like no famous people have been on there, but they speak Mandarin, which is, obviously super unique in the space. And the reason that they get like huge amounts of audiences is that they stream their show, their space, to Binance's platform. And they've amassed like 11,000 listeners in some of their recent spaces. And it's been like absolutely incredible to see. I know it's the opposite of the short form, like after post-production type of thing, but I just wanted to highlight what they are going on, because there's just innovative ways that we're not even tapped into all the way yet.
Yeah, and so is that like they're running it on Twitter Spaces, but they're also running it on another platform. So essentially, they're like kind of talking into two mics. Golden.
Yeah, I was getting rugged a little bit there, but yeah, that's. I don't really know even how they're streaming it onto it, but yeah, they have it running live on Binance, like as it goes on. Like it's part of their thing that they were doing even before they came on Rug Radio. It was something that they were doing, and it's just found super massive amounts of success.
Yeah, really interesting. Zerk.
Yo, yeah. So just going back on what Nama said, where she mentioned about like how the viewers just know when it's organic and it's in their best interest and the show is put on for them and not just the project. I think that's like something that we could really fall into the wrong hands there. Like if we just keep getting on projects and projects and projects and just giving them a platform to talk about their project, it does just become this shield fest, right? Especially when we're not really giving them like a hard time back. I'm a bit of a negative guy, a bit of a pessimist. So I actually prefer, I've held my tongue a lot of the times on some of these spaces with some of the projects that we've got on, because I could have literally called them out and been like, well, this was shit. And why did you do that? And like, how is that beneficial to your community? I feel like having something like that really enforces it, that the show is for the community and not these projects. And, if the project happens to be a good project, then they're obviously going to have a great time and they're going to have no sort of backlash from us. But I think as hosts, we should be grilling these projects as well, because they don't get it enough and they just keep coming out with new projects and new drops and these crappy metaverse stuff that no one actually cares about. And I think we should be calling them out on it. I'd love to sit there and be that guy for you, Ben, and just fucking slate half the people that we get on, honestly.
I think you need to have a balance.
Yeah, for real. You're the good guy.
You've
Good cop, bad cop.
You've got a balance.
Because then I think people might just leave the space. But no, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. And there have been moments in the series where I think, listening back, Ben, that was a moment where you could have been a little bit more critical, or you could have pushed.
Just challenge them, yeah.
Being a bit more challenging. Yeah, I think so. And I think it's about finding the blend, right? Because this is series 1, and I'm just eager that we fill every slot and that we have people on who have got things to say. But I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. Like, if you want to
just getting your character, just building your character out. And like the reason why I joined Shill and Villain Spaces isn't because I necessarily like him or like the way it's done, but I like it when people come up there, get on the speaker list, they start shilling their project, and then everyone just destroys them and they just get kicked off. I get a kick out of that. I'm in the gym listening to it, just fucking laughing my head off. And I think spaces cater to a complete different range of people. Some people are there for the education, some people are there for the humor, some people are there for, like myself, the shills. So yeah, I think you can't really narrow yourself down. You just got to be like kind of shoot the net wide and see who you get on.
Thank you, man. Good shout. Clemente.
Hey, Ben, sorry, apologies.
Oh, no, go on, Spaceman. Clemente can wait. He talks all the time.
Well, I was just going to say the super positive way to see what Zerk's talking about there is you'll have the best projects coming on to knowing that they've got like the strongest case and the strongest argument, and they want to put forward what they're doing and put it under robust challenge. Like, don't see it as if we give them such a hard time that everyone will be running for the hills.
Yeah,
that's the challenge, isn't it?
Oh, it would just be asking them the questions, like saying, like, well, why did you do that? Because surely this is the backlash you got, and it's warranted because this. Like, it's not just calling them out for the sake of it. It's just picking them apart and having an unbiased perspective on them. So
nice. I agree. And I think I think that's definitely something I'm going to work on. Like, it's definitely like an attribute I want to add to the host side of things. Clemente first, and then Nama.
Yeah, I mean, just going off what was, echoing it a little bit, I think right now people have a lot of uncertainty with a lot of the projects that they hold, and being able to have you as kind of like this person that can bring that clarity to people, I think would be really useful. Like personally, I'd love to know how a lot of these projects are doing financially, like the ones that minted out in early 2022. Hey, did you keep any money in any exchanges? Have you lost any of that? How much runway do you have left? Like I think a lot of people want to know that about a lot of the projects that they own, but then also you got to balance that with, hey, you got to make it also kind of an appealing place for project founders to want to go talk to, right? They know they're going to get grilled for an hour straight. They're not going to want to come on.
Yeah, but they're only going to get grilled if they're shit.
Right. So,
no, we grill them all.
So don't be shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know, Zerk. Like, I'm gonna come back at you a little bit there. I'm gonna say, like, there are some people who I can tell, even though I can tell there were some people who felt really uncomfortable talking full stop. Like, I think some people, it takes an immense amount of effort to get up on. They might be great, they might be fantastic at running businesses, projects, etc. But like public speaking for them might just be difficult. And so I think there is a balance to be had there. Like there are a few people who, in retrospect, I should have stopped them talking too much. Definitely. Like, and I don't even mind saying, because they even turned around at the end to me and were like, well, do you think I spoke too much there? But like Doug from Toy Boogers, he made a point, and then it went on a little bit too long, and then at the end he was like, I'm really sorry if you think like I went on a bit much there. And I was like, oh no, it's fine.
Oh man, that was nothing compared to Pablo Stanley. Like,
well, there you go.
I mean I love the guy, great energy, but geez, like literally.
Yeah, but I agree. And so that was what I was about to say, following that, like Pablo can talk and talk and talk, and he is tremendous, and he's such an inspirational artist and character. But on the basis of the show and what we were there to talk about and how long we had, I shouldn't have been in fanboy mode quite as much as I was. I should have been like really like stopping him short and moving it on. And I think that's definitely something that I think Farouk's really good at that, by the way. If you listen to him sometimes, he's great at moving the show along, and you kind of don't even realize that he did it. He just like interjected at the exact moment where he could, and said something which just changed the it pivoted the direction a little bit.
Pablo really Stanley did not take a breath. You did not get a
no, I know.
I was waiting for it.
Nama, what's up?
Just want to add something, and I really have to go. I have a meeting that I have to go in, but I'm hearing you guys, and I'm just want to encourage you to really try it all. Literally try it all. Try it this way, try it the other way, try it, and you will feel what's best for you first. Then the audience will come along, and you will find the innovation in the either in the tradition of podcasting, streaming, or you're going to take it to the next level. I just feel, I hear you guys. You're such an amazing group of leaders, in the space, and you're doing so well. You're doing so well, even with this time, or if you knew how to moderate, if you spoke too much, or if you didn't, it's all an experience, and enjoy it, because this is amazing. So
Nama, thank you so much. It's been great to have you up. Please come back more often, and let's catch up as well and talk about next steps, because it's been great getting to know you the last couple of weeks.
Yes, amazing. You guys are really. I hope you listen to yourself sometimes, because you guys are so really amazing, and sharing space and doing and moving the space in the right direction, the right state of mind. I think that's what it most important.
Thank you, Nama. Appreciate it. Guys, anybody else want to move on the topic or add anything else? Because I'm not going to say I'm conscious of time, but I don't want to do it too much if people have got places to go and things to do.
Mate, can I just say, like, this space has gone on for 55 minutes, and it feels like it's gone on for 15, because it's just been an open-ended conversation. Whereas the others, sometimes it feels like a chore. I'm not even lying. Like, sometimes I'm like, Oh God, fuck!
No one's fucking asking you, sir.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Too much honesty, man. Too much honesty.
Wow.
No, I love
This
you, Ben.
guy.
I love you. I just want to be with you for an hour, man. Like, honestly, you do fun spaces, and this has been the best one. It's been fun as.
I know what you mean, though. Like, sometimes I do look at the clock and I think, shit.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get to 60 minutes? But yeah, I know what you mean. It's about, I think, one of the other things, and I think we can now do it with a lot more confidence based on the fact that we've had Pablo and Betty and Mina from Wonder Pals, and we've had some really like the team from Hape. Like, how professional and cool were they? And so I think one of the things I ought to do, but I would welcome you guys that have been joining me as speakers as well to keep pushing that, is like, let's have conversations before we join the space with these people. And actually, it's not about vetting, but I think it's about knowing it's going to make a good conversation, because the big thing I want for this show is for everybody who takes an hour of their time to feel like it was an hour well spent. And that's
100%.
that's sometimes something I think, oh, fucking hell, well, yeah, we could have done without that. Like Conor Benn, for example, like that wasn't necessary.
I think, sorry, Ben, just to cut in, but like, it's so that everyone as well feels like they've had their say, because sometimes like the guests do just speak on and on and on, and it feels like it's all about them. But in reality, it's actually about Rug Radio and you. And our opinions collectively.
And the audience here, right? About them getting a well-rounded view of the project as opposed to the project as told by the founder. Yeah,
Exactly.
I totally agree. agree.
You've got the leverage. The project is lucky to be there. The fact that they've been given this platform, like, you have that complete control. It shouldn't be all about them, whereas they get to just run off and spill anything they want. You have that control. It's your show. You make the rules.
Really, really useful session, guys. If anyone has got anything else they'd like to add, now is the moment. Otherwise, I'm looking forward this Thursday to Vinny Hager. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Vinny, but he is like, I mean, you should all be really familiar with him, but he's an incredible artist. His project went out about a year and a bit ago. Letters, I think there's only 1,000 pieces. I think it's like an average sale price of 9 ETH. Like, Vinny is the real deal, and I was really fortunate enough to be introduced to him during NFT London. And we've been chatting a little bit, and yeah, he's going to come on Thursday, which is really exciting. I'll announce the time a little bit later, because it might be that we do it a little bit later in the day, or I don't know yet. I'm still figuring out the time that's going to happen. And then next Monday, Overlord, Cold Blooded Creeps. Now that is one I'm really looking forward to, because those
finally.
guys. Yeah, I know. It's
Are you sure? Are you sure, Ben? Are you sure, mate?
100%. I've had email confirmation from Dom and Joe.
Mate, we've been in their office asking to get them on. They still haven't moved it.
I know.
I'm excited. I'm excited to get them on as well, because I'm about down probably 15 ETH from the project, so that one should be fun.
Oh,
grill time! Let's go.
It's got the green light now. Like, fire up the flames. Let's go.
I think it will be a really well attended one too, which is great. I love it when we get lots of community members in, and I can see we've got 4 creeps in the crowd right now, and yeah, I'm looking forward to having a whole room of them. So, guys, thank you. Thanks for today. Really, really useful feedback. I've been scribbling down as we've been going. It's great to just have like an open format with you all. We'll do it more often. I think we should look to maybe do it once a month, where we just, do it for ourselves and come up and have a chat about what's going on and how everyone is. I'd love to hear a little bit more about Tom and Spaceman and Zerk's own business, because they are the guys behind, what's it called, guys? Unorthodox.
Wow.
But they've got a Spaces and podcast series going live themselves tomorrow. Highly recommend you listen to it, although you'll have already heard all the content because it's with Hape and we've already interviewed them.
Well, again, mate. Okay, I see how it is.
Oh, he's lined us up, man.
We're going to rename it to Why Ben the Greek is the worst Rug Radio host alive.
I will be listening. I'm looking forward to hearing it. I hope you guys have a really good one, and I'm certain it will be a fantastic series that you pull together. So, but yeah, guys, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for joining us. I hope you all have a wonderful evening in this crazy, dark, lunatic space that we all operate in at the moment. But thank you, and peace out.
Peace.
See you, John.